a few months after she died, I got an email from my dead sister. I saw footprints going up the wall of the dining room. All of a sudden, the rocking chair just starts, just a rocking. Just to let you know, the bathroom's haunted. The ghost of my friend's mom fooling with the shower curtain when somebody's in there taking a shower.
What kind of sorcery is this? Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Medium's Table. I'm your host, Michelle Gardner. This podcast is your personal invitation to join me at the intersection of the everyday and the extraordinary. Together, we'll explore the magic of mediumship, share spiritual stories, and connect with fellow mediums on this incredible journey. So grab a seat, pour yourself a cuppa, and come join us at the Medium's Table, where spirits gather and stories unfold. I'd like to welcome back to the show beautiful soul and spiritual leader of all and many great things on this earth, Aynne. Welcome back, Aynne.
Dang it, boy, what a welcome. I mean, whoa.
Big shoes to fill now.
Okay, that's good. Let's just call it a wrap. All right.
Exactly. Tell the audience, Aynne, what it is that you do.
I am a psychic medium. I am a grief recovery coach since my husband died. I'm an author of 3 books, and the first one is Just Who Are They Anyway? And the second one is They Are Back. And I might have mentioned this is one of my paintings on this cover. And the third one is I Love You Goodbye. And this is about my husband and his passing and how I handle that. Yeah. And a Reiki master teacher and a metaphysical teacher and ordained minister through the Order of Melchizedek, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, bit of everything, everywhere. I love it. And you're a wealth of knowledge. You've been on the show quite a few times now. You've been part of a panel of mediums, and you've just got so much to offer due to the wealth of experience that you've had in this life. And I've mentioned this in previous shows, I cannot believe that you have accomplished so much. And you're obviously so driven and committed in this one lifetime. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. And you've written 3 books and another one ready to go, another one in the works. It's like, where do you find the time for all this?
I don't watch a lot of TV.
Well, that makes sense.
I watch PBS mostly. So,
yeah.
Which is public service program.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have it here in Australia, but it's a cool channel.
Yeah, we don't have it. I have heard other American with people that I've had on the show reference that, and I did actually have to go and Google what is this PBS thing.
Good channel. They got good stuff on it, and including some Australian stuff. So maybe
really,
it's too bad you get it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, it may be available online. I'm not sure, when you do the free to air TV or whatever it is online. Yeah. My husband will know about it. He's American. I'm sure he'll know about it. So otherwise, could he call himself a true American if he doesn't?
If he ever watched Sesame Street as a little kid, he knows about PBS.
Oh, okay. Well, he has referenced that. So I think he's safe now. He's safe.
Okay. Yeah.
Aynne, what do you have for us today? Because you've always got so many exciting stories, and I'm curious. And if anyone didn't see episode 65, which was not too long ago, it was a Halloween special, and that was had me on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my God, how does this happen to? Oh, and you lived what? How? Who? How many spirits? What? Is that even possible? Anyway, it still left me with so many questions today. I'm just going to say that. And I still talk to people about it. And I'm like, how? How could this happen? How could they be doing this? Why the second floor? I'm still rattled about that. And I need answers.
Well, remember, and I don't want to dwell too long on this because we already did a show on it, but
Yeah.
the center of the activity was the attic, and then as you came down, you hit that first room, the room at the end of the hall, and then it came down the hallway and down the front stairway. The back stairway never seemed to be affected for some reason, and that was the worst of it was, but there was other spots in the house as well that were hit, but that was the worst of, and it
Yeah.
all come from the attic. Yeah.
Yeah. But viewers and listeners, if you haven't seen it, episode 65, it's a cracker. It's a cracker. So please, I encourage you. But Annie, moving along, what have you got for us today?
Well, the first one I'm going to tell you is it's actually a two-parter now that I think about it. My grandfather would spend hours after Sunday dinner telling stories, and I love to hear his stories. And sometimes they were ghost stories. And I'm only going to repeat the one that actually had to do with him personally. And he was born in the 1800s, which gives you an idea. And he was coming someplace with the horse and the wagon, coming back from somewhere, and it was getting on dark. And he had a lantern, and that's it to see. And it was pouring rain, couldn't see anything. And he said, out of the woods, a spirit, a female ghost, came out of the woods, grabbed hold of the horse's bridle, and stopped the horse. And once she stopped the horse, she just disappeared. So as it turned out, and he got down and he's walking around saying, what, looking for the lady, right? And he can't find her. And what she did was, he was right at the edge of a body of water that the bridge had gone out, and he had no way of knowing that the bridge went out. And that's why she stopped the horse, to keep him and the horse and the wagon and everybody going to the water.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you part two. Now that's happening in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm going to bring this way up to date to just a few years ago. I am writing, I think it's book two. I want to put that story about Grandpa in the book. And there was a couple little things in the story I couldn't quite remember, and I wanted to get it right. So I emailed both my sisters and I asked them, and Betty couldn't remember. My sister Betty couldn't remember. And then my sister Jean came back and said, I don't remember. And I answered my sister Jean back, okay, I'll just write it the way I remember it then, and hopefully it's accurate. So time passed, my sister died, and a few months after she died, I got an email from my dead sister.
What?
And it's in response to the email that we'd gone back and forth. The details about Grandpa's story, I don't remember. She emails back, I don't remember either. I email back saying, okay, I'll just write it the way I remember it. Here comes this answering email from her saying, go for it. Just go for it.
Wow.
And I'm sitting here looking at this, and I said, this was months after she died. Now, she was not a whiz at computers at all. In fact, the opposite. She was constantly making a mess on the computer, and she had to hire somebody to come unmess the mess and the whole things. And I was always warning her about, falling for scams and all this kind of stuff. So for her to get on the other side and figure out how to send me an email was like, how'd you do that? how did you do that? I'm going to hit on this the computer thing again in a little bit. There's a couple more stories about amazing spirits, what they can do. But that was the inside of that grandpa story. So I'm going to just touch on this. I was asked to kind of ghost hunt in the late 60s, early 70s for my husband's cousin's wife. And it was in the country, and it was a haunted, very haunted farmhouse. It was unbelievable. But I did touch on that in 65. So I'm going to tell a couple more stories bringing those kind of things in it. At the time she asked me to check the farmhouse for her, I really didn't know anything about anything. I don't know. I have no idea why she asked me to come because I really didn't have a clue what I was doing. But this is many years later. I've got a business in Syracuse, a part-time business on the side, and I'm a psychic, a professional psychic, and I was hired a few times to come get ghosts out of somebody's house. So a friend of mine contacted me, and she felt her mother was still in this particular house that had been bought by her mother had passed, and a couple bought the house, but they were having issues in the house. And I said, sure, I'll do it. And my husband went with me, and we had the tape recorder with us and all kinds of stuff. And sure enough, and her mom was just a little minx. I mean, she was something. They had a downstairs shower off a bedroom, and somebody would be in there taking a shower, and she'd shake the shower curtain. I'm sure that got somebody's attention. I mean, she did all kinds of weird things. Like one day, they got home and they saw footprints going up the wall of the dining room.
Oh, no.
How did footprints get going up the wall? It was just weird. So the center of the activity in that particular house was downstairs, not too far from that shower. So I go into a meditation. I'm talking to her, and I said, and her husband had built her this house. I mean, so this was her home, and this is where she raised her kids. And she was really attached to this house. She wasn't a mean spirit. She was full of the dickens, but she wasn't mean. So I thought I had gotten her to leave. I was sure I gotten her to leave. I asked her to go into the light, and she, for all appearances, went into the light. So I went back upstairs, and the family's waiting, and they said, well, and I said, just as I'm about to tell them she went into the light, I'm looking this way, and here's an open area between the front door, and you can see the kitchen and the living room over there. And then, you go this way. And here comes the mom, the spirit, and she's looking at me sideways and giving me a wink as she's walking through. And I said, never mind.
Oh.
He's still here. I thought I put her into the light, but no, she's not having any of it. She's every time. And I said, I'm sorry, but really, I mean, she would never be hurtful for anybody. She just, likes
Yeah.
to play little tricks like putting footsteps on the wall. I don't know how she did that either. But now here in Florida, and this is going way ahead again too, but here in Florida, I was doing this radio show, and this one fellow said he wanted to work with me on some ghost hunting. And I said, okay, I don't know much of it really, but next time I get something, I'll call you. So I got a request for a place just kind of north of Palm Coast, in the northern edge of Palm Coast, let's say. And off A1A, it was a house that had been built about 100 years ago, I guess. And he was a professional ghost hunter. So he showed up with all the bells and whistles and the thises and the that's, and he's setting up all his stuff. And he said, "Where's your stuff?" And I had my L rods with me.
You travel light.
You're looking at it. You're looking at it. And he said, "Well, what is that?" I said, "They're L rods, they're dowsing rods." He said, "Well, what are you going to do with that?" And I said, "We'll just watch and see." So I would go through each room and ask questions and wait to see what the rods did to answer my questions and this, that, and the other thing. I don't think he got much of anything on his all his machines and everything that he set up. But the long and short of that was they're the center of their activity was a room that they were now using for their dogs to play in and whatnot. But the original owner of the house was a neat freak. And she wanted, I can just see her with the white glove thing, the whole thing. She was a neat freak. And these people weren't. And this was upsetting her because her home wasn't neat and tidy. And I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way of saying this so I'm not offending them. But frankly, the spirit was right. I couldn't argue with her. But yeah, so we had a discussion about maybe starting with this one room, kind of picking it up and tidying it and seeing if that improved things and so on. It was a large house. Um, I said, call me if you have any more issues, and they didn't call me. So that must have settled everybody and got them happy again. So they come in all shapes and sizes, and it's never boring. So
Yeah.
I want to go
Can I
back.
just, I
Sure.
love the way spirit comes through, excuse me, with what we might call just an everyday human issue. Do you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
because there's attachment to a house, as simple as clean up after yourself.
Yes.
And then how do
Yeah.
you tell someone who's still living in the house that
Yes.
was hers, you
Yes.
know what, guys, you're too messy. Clean it up.
Well, in both cases, the original female owner was still hanging around. I don't think either one of them were around constantly, but they certainly were checking in quite a bit. Now, the difference between the two spirits is one, she was just full of the devil. She was funny. Like the big wink she gives me as she's walking through. I thought, oh my God. And the other one was much more prim and proper when I was dealing with her, and it was this is not my home. This is not the way I want my home taken care of. And, frankly, couldn't blame her. So I just had to find an appropriate way of saying that to the people. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's interesting how the females of the house have a far greater attachment. I guess they spend more time there. They put their energy into it, like you say, cleaning, or it's their house, raising a family. Their energy is a lot more present in the house when they were living. Therefore, it makes sense why it's still so present in the house after they've crossed over.
And
Yeah.
both cases, the house was built for these women. So
Ah, yeah.
she also, they both were built for these women. They were the original owners. So they were, attached. Very
Yes.
attached.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
It was kind of a cute story. Now, I'm going to go back for a minute to my husband's wife with the farmhouse. She had told me an interesting story that I think is worth repeating. She was staying at her sister's house overnight for some reason, and um, I guess they had a house full, so she was sleeping downstairs on the couch. And she woke up, and this was an old house. And again, over 100 years old, well over 100 years old. And she woke up and hears this scene being reenacted in front of her. And everybody is dressed in old fashioned clothes, like, a couple hundred years ago. And she can't hear, she can see their mouths working, but she can't hear what they're saying. But it is like you turned on a TV, but you had no sound, and you could see somebody going through a scene. And that's kind of the way she described it to me. Was she was watching this, and there was the fireplace was in the same place and all that kind of thing. And this one man was leaning up against the fireplace, and he's just doing this, and he's talking, and his arm is going. And apparently they were having quite a heavy discussion amongst them. It was an important discussion, obviously, to make that kind of a time print. And in my estimation, that isn't really a ghost or haunting. That's a time print. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little
I
bit
thought,
like an impression of
yeah,
energy left behind.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they all were, everybody involved, and it was all men. And this discussion had a lot invested in what they were discussing. You could get that from the body language, but she couldn't hear what was being said.
Wow. Imagine waking up to that. You'd
Yeah.
be confused. Like, what the?
Hey, you would. So I just thought that was worth kind of throwing in here. They weren't
Yeah.
really ghosts, it was more of a time print. Okay, so I touched on this, I think, in episode 65, but I'm going to go in more detail. My husband and I got married, and we bought our first house in Liverpool, and it's coming on Christmas, and I have decorated every available inch of the house that you can possibly decorate. And I've got the Christmas music going, and I'm making Christmas cookies for my new husband, and I'm singing along with the Christmas carols. And suddenly, off to my right, now, my dad, as I explained in episode 65, was a big fella, and he had an equally big voice. It just boomed. And he was a very good singer. And when he sang in church, he drowned everybody out. You could always tell where dad was standing because he was drowning everybody out. So next to me, as I'm making the cookies and cutting them out and messing around and singing, I know dad is there because he's suddenly singing one of the Christmas songs with me. And I'm going, should I be freaked out? Should I? The dad is here, Yeah. So I just continue singing, and he continues singing. And I thought, I wonder what's going to happen when the song is done. Maybe I can roll it into another song and keep him going, but I couldn't do it. It was just that one song.
Oh, I love that. Your loved ones are around you during that time because it's such a family occasion, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ah,
And I'd always felt it. I was sad that dad and Ed never met each other because he died long before I met Ed. But now they're hanging around together.
yeah.
It's okay. It's all good. Um, Ed's brother-in-law, my brother-in-law, Ed's brother-in-law, died in a car crash. He died instantly, and that's kind of a two-part story too. Um, we went to the funeral, of course, which was in the southern tier of New York State. Um, and we went on the road, and we both were familiar with the road that he died on, and a country road, and the trees, great big trees, are right on the edge of the road. I mean, there's no space at all between, it's just road tree. It's like that. But he'd driven that road thousands and thousands of times. And every day at 4 o'clock, he drove up that road to check on his mom and take care of her. And then he'd drive back to his own house. And he hit a tree and died instantly. And we all wondered why. Why did it happen? And of course, your first thought, was he committing suicide? No, no, that didn't happen. And it was my theory, well, an animal jumped out. And the family said, no. Dad always said, if an animal jumps out, do not swerve your car because you will end up in an accident. So they said, no, Dad would not swerve for an animal. So that bugged me for a long time. I didn't find out the answer until relatively recently. But that particular day, Ed and I are driving down this road because we just wanted to see where it happened. And we're going slow, and I'm looking for tire tracks and stuff. I know Ed is too. And he said, oh, I guess I said it to him. I said, Ed, where do you think, what tree was it? And it was a clear, sunny day. And we got right in front of this one humongous tree, and there was this thunderclap that was huge. I mean, I jumped a foot in the car. It was like right over the car, this thunderclap. And I said, well, I guess we know what tree it is. he just told us. I mean, there was no storm or anything. It was just this loud thunderclap. So just within the last couple years, Ron came in, and I said, we're all wondering and fussing, what happened. And there was a car, and it was one of the theories, but we didn't know for sure. There was a car backing out of a driveway. Again, country roads, not paved, a dirt driveway, backing out of the driveway and not paying attention to where they were looking. So that's why Ron swerved to miss that car and hit the tree. And of course, the people never came forward.
Oh, no. Ah,
I got it right from Ron what did happen because
yeah.
we wondered for years.
Wow.
So Ron was another one that was full of it. He was just full of it. And it was a couple weeks after he died, and we had a lovely family room downstairs, and big fireplace and the whole thing, and a couple rockers and recliners. And I was in this one rocker, and the big TV's over there. And all of a sudden, somebody comes along and grabs the back of my rocker and just snaps me like a big brother would do.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Ronnie, damn it. It's not funny. So he'd pulled that stunt a couple times, and Ed's office was off to the right. And I remember one day I went over, I was standing next to Ed. He's working on the computer. We're working on some kind of project together. And all of a sudden, my left side is getting just stone cold. I said, Ronnie, stop it. I said, Ed, he's crowding me here.
Yeah, yeah.
He was
Oh,
just making me a sandwich between him and Ed. And I know he thought that was really funny too. So this time I'm talking about some ghosts that have a sense of humor,
Yeah.
And that same fireplace is where we saw the first blue orb, the first orb in our house. And that was the first of hundreds of orbs that we would eventually see there. But I think I was just taking it was like Christmas time and the Christmas greenery and all that kind of stuff. And the fireplace, it looked very, picture postcard thing. So I took a picture, and there in front of the fireplace is this big blue orb. And I'm going, wow. And look, there's this big blue orb in front of the fireplace. So, and that was just the beginning. And I know you're going to do a whole show on orbs, so we're not going to go too deep into that.
Yes, you'll be part of that. You've given me so we've already got some photos and footage together from a few of you. So we'll be doing a panel of mediums on the orbs. Really interesting. Yeah, stay tuned for that one.
They don't. So I'm going to hop ahead to when we bought this house. And I should have brought this up with the angel stuff because the angels had a lot to do with me getting this house. I wrote my list and I asked them, here's what I want. And originally they showed me a picture. I was teaching a class on automatic writing and on the shore of Onondaga Lake. And I kept drawing this picture of a flower. And I said, I've never seen a flower like that before. And I kind of blew it off. And when I was meditating, I was asking, where are we going? Are we going to Virginia? Are we going to Florida? Are we going to North Carolina? Where are we going? And I got this flower, and I said, that makes no sense. But we came to this house, and guess where that flower is growing? And only here, by the way, is that white flower. And I still have the picture of that I drew. So, funny enough, I listened to this historian give a speech just this summer and on a Zoom, and the picture of my flower shows up in his speech, and he said, "This is a protected flower. The only place it grows in the world is on this particular piece of land in Palm Coast." And I said, "I beg to differ. It grows in my yard too." But that's how very, very rare it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's incredible.
We move into this house and we're here, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days, not long. And the family's gone home that was helping us move. And the next door neighbor came over and she's walking around the house, I guess, to see, how it's different and whatnot. And she got to this room and this light flickered on and off. And she looked up and she said, "Hi, Harold." And I said, "Okay, who's Harold?" Well, Harold was the man that built this house, and he died a year or so after he built it, and his wife went back to Vermont, and the house sat empty until we came along and bought it. But as it happened, he had his recliner in the same spot that I have my recliner. His office was the same as my office. And I thought, okay. So that was my initial introduction to Harold, but I got the distinct impression Harold wasn't crazy about us buying the house. And especially when he locked Ed and I out of the house one night.
Oh, no.
Had to break into our own house to get back in. We were out in the garage doing something, and the door just slammed shut in between the garage and the house. And it locked. And we couldn't get back in the house.
Oh, no.
And I am a door locker from way back. That comes from 30 years of law enforcement. So the front door was locked. The back door was locked. We had no way of breaking into the garage door. It's what they call a fire door. So Ed found a way of breaking into the front door. So we had to break into our house. So not long after that, I got a little black Turkish Angora kitten, and Merlin was about 6 to 8 weeks old. He was still wobbly on his little legs and the whole thing. He was just, you could fit him in here. So one day I couldn't find him, and I'm looking all over for Merlin, and I can't find him. And I go into the kitchen, and we have what's called plant ledges here in Florida houses, which is ridiculous because they're like 10 feet off the ground. And you couldn't water a plant up there. I mean, it's stupid. Why do you call it a plant ledge? But anyway, plant. So, and the one in the kitchen was a couple feet above the refrigerator, right? Here on this plant shelf is the baby kitten. There's absolutely no way this little kitten could have gotten from the floor 10 foot up on his own. There was just, I mean, later on when he grew up, he did get up there, but that was when he was a full grown cat. And he found his own little path and way to get up there. He'd get up to the top of the refrigerator and then he'd jump up there. So that really angered me. I said, Harold, you've gone too far. You're picking on a baby kitten. You have gone too far. We're going to have a come to Jesus moment here. So we had a talk, and I said, in all truthfulness and honesty, I appreciate your home. Ed appreciates your home. I love what you did with the colors. I loved what you did, the safety of it with the hurricane shutters, and we've got a generator and all this other kind of stuff. There was a lot of thought and protection and safety built into this house. And I said, you have my admiration and my gratitude for the wonderful job that you did, and we will do our best to take care of it and make you proud on what we do with a home. So we came to an agreement. And now when I go away, if I go away any length of time, I'll ask Harold to watch the house and take care of the kitties. And I'll be back at such and such a time and, this kind of thing. So we get along just fine now.
Oh, thank goodness. That could have been awkward.
Well, and I think he knew I was talking to him honestly. I really do feel that they did a wonderful job. It's too bad she didn't want to stay here, that she moved back.
Yeah. And they do say the spirit world hear how you feel, not just your words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hop to the hospital. Ed was in and out of the hospital for different things, and I honestly can't remember now what he was. It might have been a heart attack. It's possible. So I was sitting up with him all night, and of course he's got tubes and machines and all this kind of stuff. And a hurricane had come through not long before, and they had moved the couch out of that room for the family. So all that was left is this really uncomfortable chair. And I was trying to find a way of getting comfortable in this chair because I sit up all night with him. So I didn't really sleep. I couldn't sleep. And I would say probably around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, his door's shut. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a lot of talking and laughing and whatnot out in the hallway. And I'm thinking, people are trying to sleep here. It's got to be the staff out there talking and fooling around. And they kept talking and talking. And I'm getting madder and madder. I'm just going to open that door and give them what for. I'm just really upset. But I didn't. And one of his machines started beep, beep, beeping. And I thought, well, they're right there. Can't they hear the machine? And nobody came in. Now I'm really getting mad, right? So eventually this fella comes in. He was a male nurse. And I said, his machine's been beeping a while. I thought one of you guys could hear it because you're right outside the door all this time. And he said, no, ma'am, we've been up at the nurse's station, up in the middle of the floor here. We weren't anywhere near your door. And it hits me. Hospitals are full of dead people. Oh, yeah. Okay. I get it. And I said, I'm sorry, I could have, and now I'm kind of smoothing it over because I don't want to say I've been hearing ghosts outside the door. So I said, I just seem to have heard a lot of noise out there. And he said, I don't know what you heard. We we're way at the other end of the hall at the nurse's station. Okay.
Wow. And do you think maybe that they gathered there as well for the fact that you could hear them because you're receptive?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have happened if I'd opened the door. I had something similar to happen, and I'll get to that in a little bit. If I'd opened the door and would I have seen them? I don't know. I don't know because I didn't. I thought it was the nurses and orderlies and whatnot just fooling around out there, keeping themselves, you know. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah. So I'm going to go on to the next one. where something similar happened, but it was like that one on steroids, actually. Um, I love Cedar Key in Florida, and it's an old town. I'm trying to, well, it's on the Gulf side for people who don't know where it is. It's in Florida, but it's on the Gulf side, near the Big Bend, what they call the Big Bend. And it's a delightful thing. And we live exactly 3 hours for it. So you can watch the sunrise here on the Atlantic Ocean and drive across 3 hours to there, which is on the Gulf, and watch the sunset there on the Gulf, which is kind of cool. So we went with another couple for a few days to this condo, modern, what seemed to be a modern condo anyway. And it was around the time of our anniversary. So our friend said, you pick whatever room you want because it's your anniversary. So, okay. So I picked the room. And the next day, or no, a couple days later, Sean and I are downstairs swimming in the swimming pool. And she said, how do you like your room? And I said, I don't know. We must really have noisy neighbors. And she said, why? And I said, I don't know. These people are talking all night and they're just rude. And, I thought in my head that there had to be a condo next to us, right? Not just in the middle of the night, you don't think clearly. So anyway, that's why I thought it was people arguing or whatever, talking in the next condo. And she said, and I didn't even tell her about the light going off in the bathroom, on and off, on and off. Got so I didn't want to go in there without a flashlight. you know? So again, I'm not putting anything together. So she's looking concerned to me like I've lost my mind. And she said, we're going to go back up to the condo and you point to me where you hear these voices. And I said, okay. So we went into the bedroom, and as we're walking into the room and I went to point where I was hearing the voices, it would be impossible because there was nothing but air there. There was no condo next door. And I said, ah, seems like that's where it's coming from. And she said, Anne, it couldn't be because there's no condo there on that side. Okay, all right. And we just left it. So then we're packing up to leave day or so later. And condo, what the vacation condos, the living room runs into the kitchen and everything runs into everything. And I'm sitting at the breakfast bar. My husband's sitting over here, and no, I'm sorry, he was sitting over here. And there's this empty rocking chair right across from me. And I'm waiting for our friends to pack up because they had a lot to pack up. So I'm just kind of not paying attention to much of anything. And all of a sudden the rocking chair just starts, just a rocking. And my husband's, looking up here, looking up there. And I said, Ed, Ed, what? Look at the rocker.
Yeah.
He catches the last end of it just rocking away by itself. And I'm going, of all the stuff I've ever been through, the rocking chair just threw me a lot. Like, ah. So, and that's when it all came together as, oh my God, this condo's haunted. It accounted,
Yeah.
the weird stuff, the bathroom light and the voices keeping me up half the night, and then the rocking chair. And I was, okay, I get it. I can be dense at times.
Wow. And it'd be interesting to find out if anything had happened there, whether there was, I don't know, like a big, even a crime scene or something had happened, like a major event there.
I never looked into it. I just never looked into it. I just said, okay, we're not going to stay at that condo when we go back. No.
Yeah.
But it's still in Cedar Key. And again, it's very, very old. Some of the buildings are really, really old. And this hotel, I don't know, at least 100, 150 years old. It's old. And of course, they tried to make the hotel a little bit better, but they've left some of the rooms downstairs because they have a lovely dining room and we ate there. And they left the check-in area kind of like the way it was. And, it's kind of cool. So I had to use the restroom, and it's a smallish restroom. It looks like it was kind of an afterthought they put into a closet or something. I don't know. It was small. And now I'm watching the toilet paper roll unrolling itself. And I'm saying, this is not cool. It's really you don't hang out in bathrooms. You do not hang out in any bathroom that I'm at. Okay. You just leave. And the toilet paper roll stops rolling. And I'm going, this is just too weird. So I go back and everybody's eating their steak or shrimp or whatever they're eating. And I said, just to let you know, the bathroom's haunted.
Yeah, so you might want to hold it until you get to another one.
Well, if that's the worst thing they ever did there, unroll the toilet paper, that it could be worse. So, and then back here to this house again, my niece that I loved so very, very much died. Diabetes finally took her. And she wasted no time in coming to see Auntie Anne. And she knew I would know. So she made herself very, very noticeable. And she usually turned on the bedroom TV at around 3 o'clock in the morning. She would turn on TVs, but she never turned them off again. She would just turn them on. And radios, she liked to turn on TVs and radios. So my sister was struggling. You lose a child, right? My sister and brother-in-law were struggling. And we were talking every night after Deb died. And we talk at least an hour every night afterwards. And I told Jean, I said, look for the pennies. There'll be pennies. And she said, what's with the pennies? I said, I have no idea. It's just a thing that they have. Look for the pennies. So, and I said, and your daughter has been here frequently turning on radios and TVs. Have you noticed any radios or TVs? And she said, oh, wow. The radio in her room keeps turning on by itself. And her husband just kept trying to find some excuse for this radio turning on. I said, well, between you and me, he's not going to listen to you. Between you and me, that's Deb saying hi. So Jean would sit on my niece's bed and pet Deb's cat that was still continued to hang out mostly in that room, didn't come out of the room very often, and just spend time with her cat. And she called me one night and she said, I see the pennies. And I said, well, good. Did you find a couple of pennies? She said, you might say that. She said, the bedspread is covered with pennies. It's like somebody dumped a piggy bank on this bedspread. And she said, I've asked everybody and they don't know anything how these pennies got here. And I'm just laughing hysterically. I said, that's Deb. That's your daughter. She's saying hi. I had told you to look for the pennies, and she's giving you proof. and Jane is still trying to excuse it. Well, how could the pennies have gotten here? I said, stop. It was your daughter. She's saying hello. So they came down to visit. Couple months later, they'd usually come around February, March, and they'd stay about 4 to 6 weeks whenever they came down. They lived up in Potsdam, New York. So Jane and I are out in the lanai and we're talking. And I'm telling her again about how Deb turns on the TVs all the time, especially TVs. So, and I can see doubt in her face, and that's okay. That's all right. So as we're coming back in the lanai into the living room, if you look to the left, if the bedroom's doors open, you can actually see the bedroom TV, right? The master bedroom TV. So I'm going first through the lanai door into the living room, and I happened to glance to my left, and there is the TV on. And I said, Jane, and she said, what? And I said, when you come in this door, look to your left, you will see the TV on in my bedroom. And I didn't turn it on, and I know Ed didn't turn it on. Your daughter turned that on. She's trying to prove to you. So she came in and she looked, and sure enough, the TV's on. So now it's supper time. I have a big, big wooden table. And we always have a little TV on the table. We like to watch the news. So we're telling her husband about how Deb turned on the TV as we're coming into the house. And you can see the skepticism on his face, like, ain't no thing. So I said, Deb, your dad won't believe me. He won't believe anybody. Would you mind turning on the kitchen TV? Doesn't the kitchen TV turn on?
Oh, no way. Wow.
He had nothing to say. He had nothing to say.
If that's not hard proof, I don't know what is.
My God. There was, I think that either that following fall or the next fall, because she was here quite a while playing with my TVs and radios. But it was hurricane time, and there was a hurricane coming, and I was preparing everything, and I went and got the emergency radio, which runs on batteries. You can plug it in if you want, if you have power, or you can run it on batteries. And it picks up the weather channel and all that kind of thing. So anyway, I put it on the counter. Was not plugged in. It didn't have any batteries in it. It was on the kitchen counter. And I went to do something else, and I came into the kitchen, and that radio turned on. Again, no batteries, wasn't plugged in, but the radio turned on. I said, hi, Deb.
See, now at this point, Annie, most people would have well and truly have left that house, your house, boarded up the doors and windows. Don't go back in.
Well, it's just like brushing your teeth or something. It's just so normal.
Yeah.
I usually don't get out of sorts about it. So Deb showed up a couple other ways, which was very interesting. Christmas time, I will put the keyboard up. Now, I don't know how to play piano, but I have these numbers on the keys that match the numbers on the music, and I can actually get through the Christmas carols. And so actually it sounds like I know what I'm doing sometimes, right? So the keyboard is up the whole Christmas season, right? And I think I was in here. And I hear just one note playing on the keyboard. And the note was held. It wasn't like a bing, it was like a bing, that kind of thing. The note was held. So I'm thinking, okay, one of the cats got up there. So I look, and there's nobody in the living room, no kitties, no nothing, because that would make sense. A cat was playing on the keyboard. And that happened 2 or 3 times where it would just be one note played. And I'm quite sure that was Deb doing that.
Jeez, she's very active.
Oh, she was. She really was. And I'm going to go back to the computer thing again. I was telling you about the email that I got from my sister. Still blows me away. I was writing book 1, and up until that point, I was writing for other people's books. And I was happy, and I'd written for 19 years for a magazine, and I was happy just doing that. And a fella joined our Course in Miracles group that I liked and respected a great deal, and he'd written several books. And he said, "Why don't you write your own?" And I wrote something for one of his books, one of his last books. I wrote a story for one of his last books. He said, "Why don't you write your own?" I said, "I don't have anything to say." And he said, "I beg to differ. You have a lot to say." So he kept poking at me, and I started writing this first book, but I was a bundle of nerves. I was so sure I was going to mess it up somehow. So something came up. I don't remember what it was, but I got all tangled up and I asked Joe to come. And he was sitting right here in this chair, right in front of this computer. And I'm sitting over there on the futon. And I said, Joe, you got to promise me. I said, I am so nervous about this that you will always be available for questions. When I have a question, you'll always be there to answer my question. And he said, of course I will. Don't be silly. And he's working on the computer. He's doing something. 4 days later, he dies.
Oh
Right?
no.
4 days later, he dies. So I'm typing to his girlfriend who's up in Pennsylvania and typing back and forth to her on Facebook. Now, part of me is really sad because I'd become very fond of Joe. Part of me is so mad at him for dying before my book is done because he promised me that he would help me through this book and he'd always be around for questions. And I said, you said that you would be here for questions and you're not here. You went and died. And I'm just typing at his girlfriend. So I want to back this up just a tiny bit so you understand what happened next. Joe and I were born on exactly the same day in the same year. 12 hours apart, exactly 12 hours apart. I was born in Watertown, New York. He was born in Texas. So we would tell people we were brother and sister. And we got a lot of giggles out of that because we'd say, we're 12 hours apart. And they go, oh, your poor mother had a 12-hour labor in between you two. We just start laughing. But we would tell people that we're brother and sister. So I found this GIF or meme or whatever they're called, the little jokey things that said, my big brother has the greatest little sister, just saying. And I sent it to him. And that was about 6 months before he died. I forgot all about it. So I'm typing to Susan, his girlfriend. Don't know if I'm sad or angry or what I am because he died. And on my computer, bing, here is that gift. My big brother has the greatest little sister, just saying. And I just sat here for a good 2 or 3 minutes, unable to communicate because I was thinking, how is he doing this? How did he do this? So finally, and she's saying, are you there? And I'm saying, yeah, I have to tell you what just happened. And you're not going to believe what just happened. And I'm telling her, and it just, obviously Joe was right here listening to me, alternately unhappy and mad because he went and died, and letting me know, I told you I would be here to help you, and I'm going to be here to help you.
Wow. And that's, again, confirmation that he's letting you know, hello, I'm right here. Like, what's the problem?
While we're talking about spirits and computers, now this one I'm pretty sure I didn't tell before. In the very beginning, before I joined started the James Van Prague class, I was in another class, which started first. So it was just a matter of timing. And I was in that one for quite a long time. So one day I said to the teacher, I said, the strangest things happen on my computer. And he said, what? And I said, I will be working on something and I'll get up to go to the kitchen or the other room or whatever, and I'll come back and it's on a completely different page. It's on some page that I would never be on. It's just there. And this happens again and again and again. I said, I don't know what's going on. And to my knowledge, computers don't do this on their own. So he said, you've got to start paying attention because somebody is trying hard to get a hold of you and give you a message. And I said, okay, all right. So right after that, within a day or so, it happened again. Only this time it was on a page from Amazon. And it was a necklace with 2 hearts and our 2 birthstones, my husband's and mine. And in tiny little letters, it says, I will love you now and forever.
Oh,
Said, okay, I got the message. So for my birthday, I ordered this as a present from him because he obviously picked it out for me.
yeah, I love that. So there's still hope, though, ladies and gentlemen, that you can still go shopping even in spirit. You just have to have someone else to do it for you.
I like this. Get it? Yes. I
Yeah,
want to.
exactly. That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's so romantic. Still so romantic, and just undeniable. Love never dies. Love never
It,
dies.
it really doesn't. I don't know if he showed up yet here or not. He usually does, but I don't know if he has. You can tell me after. Um, oh, this one is cool too. This is about my sister. I kept everything to my family pretty much. I'm not going to say which sister. I'm not going to say her name because she doesn't know I'm telling this. But she sent me an email, I think 2 years ago. Something freaky had happened. And she kind of believes, but kind of doesn't. And, she knows her sister is a psychic medium, but that's just me and it isn't her, and, whatever. So her and her husband had a mutual friend forever since they were dating way back in Watertown, New York. And I knew this guy too. And they continued to keep in touch with him, right? He got married and then the whole thing. They kept in touch with each other. So she got a phone call, and I'm going to say, for the sake of turning things around, his name was George. That wasn't his name, but I'm just going to say his name was George. She got a phone call, and it sounds like George, but it's not a good connection. And but she knows, I mean, it says on caller ID that it's him. And she's trying to understand what he's saying. And she said, George Gaylord's not here right now. He's out walking the dogs. I'll tell him that you called, and he'll call you just as soon as he gets back. And she hung up. She didn't think anything of it. So her husband gets back, and they call George, and Mrs. George answers and said that they can't have been George. George just died.
Wow. That's so freaky when that happens.
Yeah. So she's probably still sorting that out. I sent her a long email back and I said, this is normal. It's natural. I know it isn't normal and natural for you, but it does happen. And they reach out. George was just saying goodbye in his own way. He was saying goodbye. And that I said, you got a wonderful gift there. This isn't anything to be afraid of. You got a wonderful gift.
Yeah. And spirit does use technology. And the technology now is so advanced and obviously so much easier to use because, I mean, you've given story after story about how the spirit have used your computer, your technology, lights, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, wow. I love
And
that.
it occasionally rings the doorbell. I have the Ring doorbell. I don't know if you have that in Australia or not, but I have the Ring doorbell. And I love it when he does something when somebody else is here because I have proof that he's done
Yes.
something. And my friend and I were sitting in the living room, and ding ding ding, it's the ring sound when it goes off. And I said, okay, somebody's at the door. And I got up to answer the door and there was no one there. And I'm looking back at my friend and she's looking at me and I said, there's no one here. And she said, I know, but I heard the doorbell. And I said, I did too, but there's no one here. And he does this every now and then. So
Yeah.
I just love it when he does things in front of other people. So everybody doesn't think I'm a crackpot. So
Well, you've got more than enough evidence. And again, they're not just your stories. Like you said, when your neighbor, when you first moved into your house, came in, the light flickered. And she even said, it was talking to the old neighbor
yeah,
or the owner of your house who'd passed
yeah.
away. So, the evidence is there, and it's evidential for so many. The TV turning on the kitchen table, basically.
After I asked for it to happen, Deb proved
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, on demand. Turn the TV
Yeah.
on. Boom, there it goes. It's like, what
There it
kind of
goes.
sorcery is this? But it's all spirit energy and the proof that they are around you. They are hearing you. They are listening all the time.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out, I think it's one of the episodes, maybe 67, in a panel of mediums that you're in, where there's a few of you that talk about, we call them toilets, you call them bathroom situations in with spirit. And again, the toilet roll, it's like, what is it with the bathrooms and Annie? I don't know. It's
I don't know either. I've had the same thought. I have had the exact same thought. What is it with the toilets? What is it the bathroom? I don't know.
Fun times in the bathroom all the time.
The ghost of my friend's mom fooling with the shower curtain when somebody's in there taking a shower and messing with that and scaring the person in the shower.
Exactly. Right time, right place. And some people would say the opposite, but for her, it's perfect. She's got you when you're vulnerable and you can't miss this.
You'll see me now, won't you?
Yeah, exactly. Are you paying attention? And I also love the fact that your grandfather, in the first story you told, saw the spirit woman, like that spirit woman came and stopped his horse. And I just think she obviously, A, didn't want that tragedy to happen, but B, do you ever think that they have the foresight in knowing that your grandfather needed to live in order for you to be here and for the rest of your family to be here, because you guys are making an impact on this earth?
I didn't think of that until just this minute when you brought it up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Obviously she was saving his life and the horse's life too, of course,
Yeah. But the ripple effect of saving someone's life is so that other lives, more life can continue on, and there's a purpose to why he needed to, I just got goosebumps, why he needed to stay on this earth. Because now here we are having a conversation, Annie.
Stories. I wish I could remember more of his. I can remember a couple of them, but he was telling a story about somebody else. It wasn't a personal story like that one. So yeah.
Yeah. But it's just and the fact that he told ghost stories. My dad used to do that, but they weren't true stories, and then he'd scream halfway through the ghost story, and we were kids, and of course, then we had to go to sleep. It's like, how do you go to sleep when there was this blood curdling scream in the middle of this story, and here we are going to sleep at night with the blankets up in the dark.
It's the best part of Sunday dinners. Grandpa always came to Sunday dinner, and first of all, he'd say a prayer that went, a blessing that I swear went on 15 minutes. We were starving by the time he was done. But after dessert, then he would tell stories, and I loved to listen. And that was before we all had to go in the living room and watch Ed Sullivan, because Grandpa wanted to see Ed Sullivan. So the story part was my favorite part of Grandpa. Yeah.
And that's such a cherished memory, because stories like that just don't seem to be told anymore.
No.
We're on devices. We're too busy reading someone else's story or watching someone else's video to share our own stories with our own families, which is such a shame. So for anybody listening and watching, start telling stories to your family. This is how history gets repeated and stories unfold about, one day you'll be gone, but your stories need to remain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter got a hold of me because she did watch the Halloween episode, And she said, Mom, you never told me about the Hat Man. I said, on purpose.
You did want her to sleep.
If I told her about the Hat Man, she'd see him around every corner. I said, no. And she never saw him. So that's fine. But yeah, I said, no, I didn't.
I love that because she's learned something about you. Again, a story of yours has reached your daughter through the podcast, but regardless, this is a story about her mum. And now she can walk away and hopefully tell her older children, not when they're little, about my mum saw the Hat Man, your grandmother. Yeah, that's, and this is, I think, sometimes it becomes a lost art in storytelling. And I'm so glad and I'm so glad you're writing books, Annie, and getting all of your life, your journey, and your visitations, your channelings out onto paper so that they can be treasured forever. I think it's so important.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Annie. This has been, I've never heard these stories. I know you touched base on a couple that were in the previous episode, but you've added more to them. And these are stories that, when we get together in a group and practice, we don't talk about these things. We're there to practice and then we leave. So this is a really great opportunity for me and the rest of the world to get to know more about you and hear your amazing stories and the life that you've led. It's just incredible. So many experiences and so many spiritual experiences. You just think, what am I doing wrong? What's going on here? Am I not paying attention?
Do you really want that? I don't know if you do or not.
Yeah, exactly. It'd prove you're like, all right, that's enough now. I saw that curtain move. That's enough. Or I'm moving out. I'll pack my things.
So people are going to have a hard time going into restrooms now, and they're going to be watching the toilet roll to make sure it isn't moving.
Exactly. Did that little sheet of paper just move? I'm sure it did. They'll be putting their toilet rolls on the floor now. Go, yeah, how do you like that? How you can't move that, can you? Make it harder for them. Oh, it's just so comical though. But they do get your attention when you are in those in those places, the shower, the toilet. You're going to be listening, watching, and you're attentive while you're in there because that's the last place you want to be disturbed.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Well, most people don't want to be disturbed anywhere, period. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Annie, for sharing once again some amazing stories and life experiences. Just incredible. And so some of these stories, these are in your books as well?
I would say most of them are in the book. And there's a couple that are in book 3 that's in the computer yet. It hasn't been published yet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But to get the full recap and the real down and low on the full stories, by all means, grab a copy of Annie's books. I will put them up on the screen, and the links will be provided in the description, so you can go and find those on Amazon. I know Amazon, it's a bit difficult to put the exact Amazon link up because I know each country has their own different Amazon link. So that's why
under my name, just search under my name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've put that in there, search Amazon in your country for these books because I know we have Amazon Australia. You guys would have Amazon US or whatever they want to call it, Amazon America. So it's different in every country. But such a pleasure. And I know you've got so much more. I love it when we get together because it's like, I know it's going to be something that's going to get me going like, wow, what? How? You have just so much. There's so much content. But where can people find you more importantly, Annie?
You can find me. I have several spots on Facebook. There's just plain Ann McAvoy, and then there's Ann McAvoy, psychic medium. There's Ann McAvoy, grief recovery coach. So you have different ways of finding me there. And I am on YouTube. I have my own channel. And my website is really simple, annmcavoy.com. And that's what the YouTube channel is under too, just Ann McAvoy. So I make everything as easy as possible.
Yeah, so simple and so easy. And again, those links will be in the description below. And also, we will be doing coming up. I'm going to do a little teaser here. I know you've sent me some really great orb photos, so stay tuned for that episode when we'll get together with a few others and have a look at some orb footage and some videos and some photos of orbs. Very, very interesting. But yeah, thank you so much, Aynne. And I look forward to having you back again on the show very, very soon. Thanks for joining me at the Medium's Table. The universe is always speaking. Listen and let your spirit soar. Curious for more? Click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe.